I am Commander Dr. Elena Vasquez, 31 years old, and I have a secret that would make my family's jaws drop to the floor. While my cousins see me as the failed waitress who couldn't finish college and works at a diner, I'm actually mission commander for NASA's classified Mars exploration program, preparing for humanity's first manned mission to the Red Planet. Yesterday, at my grandfather's funeral, when my cousin Maria announced to the entire gathering, "Elena's just a failed waitress. She's the disappointment of the family," I quietly opened my jacket to reveal my NASA mission badge. What happened next taught everyone that sometimes the person they think flies the lowest is actually preparing to fly the highest. Before I tell you how this revelation unfolded at the most inappropriate moment and why I've been living a double life for 3 years, let me ask you something. Have you ever been underestimated by people who couldn't see your true potential? Have you ever had to hide your greatest achievements for reasons others wouldn't understand? Hit that like button if you've ever been judged by people who only saw what you wanted them to see, and subscribe, because what happened when I revealed my real identity will show you that dreams really can take you to places your family never imagined. My story begins in El Paso, Texas, where I grew up in a large Mexican-American family that measured success through traditional markers: marriage, children, stable local jobs, and staying close to home. My grandfather, Miguel Vasquez, was a construction foreman who built half the buildings downtown. My parents owned a successful restaurant. My cousins became teachers, nurses, and small business owners, all respectable, practical careers that kept the family together. I was different from birth. While my cousins played house or sports, I was staring at the night sky through a cheap telescope my grandfather bought me for my 8th birthday. "Mija," he would say, "the stars are beautiful, but keep your feet on the ground. Dreams don't pay bills." He meant well, but every time I looked up at those stars, I felt something calling me that was stronger than practical advice. By high school, I was devouring every book about space exploration, astrophysics, and aeronautical engineering I could find. "Elena wants to be an astronaut," my mother would tell relatives with the same tone she might use to describe a chronic illness. We keep telling her to be realistic, but she's stubborn. My family's reaction to my space dreams was a mixture of affection and concern. They loved me, but they also believed I was setting myself up for inevitable disappointment by pursuing something so impossible for someone from our background. When I got accepted to MIT with a full scholarship for aeronautical engineering, the family pride was tempered with worry. "Elena's going so far away," my Aunt Carmen would say. "What if she forgets where she comes from?" College was transformational. For the first time, I was surrounded by professors and students who shared my passion for space exploration and didn't think my dreams were unrealistic fantasies. "Elena, your understanding of propulsion systems is exceptional," Dr. Robert Harrison, my advisor, told me during junior year. "Have you considered applying for NASA internships?" I had been considering exactly that since freshman year. NASA's internship program was incredibly competitive, accepting less than 2% of applicants, but I had maintained a 4.0 GPA while conducting research on advanced rocket fuel systems. My application included detailed proposals for improving spacecraft efficiency, innovative approaches to long-duration life support systems, and theoretical frameworks for Mars colonization that impressed even seasoned NASA engineers. The acceptance call came during spring break of my senior year. "Elena, this is Dr. Patricia Williams from NASA's Johnson Space Center. We'd like to offer you a position in our Advanced Mission Training Program." I literally dropped the phone. The Advanced Mission Training Program was NASA's fast track for exceptional candidates who showed potential for critical space missions. Only 12 people per year were selected from thousands of applicants worldwide. But I couldn't tell my family the full significance of this opportunity. "Elena got some kind of internship with NASA," my mother told relatives. "It's probably just computer work or paperwork. At least it's a government job with benefits." The reality was far more extraordinary. NASA had identified me as a potential candidate for their most classified program, Project Red Dawn, the secret preparation for humanity's first manned mission to Mars. The training was unlike anything I had ever experienced. 18 months of intensive physical conditioning, psychological evaluation, technical training, and mission simulation that pushed human capabilities to their absolute limits. Commander Vasquez, my training supervisor, announced after my final evaluation, "You've achieved the highest scores in mission simulation we've ever recorded. You're being promoted to mission commander for Project Red Dawn." At 28 years old, I was selected to lead humanity's first expedition to Mars, a mission so classified that only 17 people in the world knew about it. But the security requirements meant I couldn't discuss my work with anyone outside the program, including my family. Cover stories were essential for protecting mission security and preventing international incidents that could compromise decades of preparation. My cover identity was Elena the waitress, a story that explained my irregular schedule, frequent travel, and inability to discuss work details while maintaining believability with people who knew my family background. "I'm working at Luna's Diner," I told my family during visits home. "It's flexible scheduling while I figure out my next career move." The lie was technically accurate. Luna's Diner was a NASA-operated facility that served as a cover location for astronauts maintaining civilian identities. My waitressing was actually mission briefings, physical training, and technical preparation for Mars exploration. My family's reaction was predictable disappointment mixed with concern. "Elena spent all that money on college to become a waitress," my cousin Maria would say. "She should have stayed home and found a nice husband instead." The comments stung because they reflected genuine love and worry for my future, but they were based on complete misunderstanding of my actual circumstances. During family gatherings, I would listen to my cousins discuss their achievements: Maria's promotion to head nurse, Carlos's successful auto repair business, Sophia's new teaching position, while I said nothing about preparing for the most important space mission in human history. "Elena's still trying to find herself," my aunt would say with sympathetic concern. "Some people take longer to mature and settle down." The irony was overwhelming. While they worried about my maturity and career direction, I was undergoing training that would make me one of the most highly qualified humans alive for surviving in the most hostile environment known to our species. The physical requirements alone were extraordinary. Daily training included zero-gravity simulation, extreme environment survival, emergency medical procedures, and psychological resilience exercises that would break most people within weeks. "Elena, your cardiovascular fitness exceeds Olympic athlete standards," my training physician reported during routine evaluation. "Your psychological stability scores are off the charts. You're physically and mentally prepared for literally anything." Meanwhile, my family continued worrying about my apparent lack of ambition and career progression. "Elena's 31 and still working as a waitress," I overheard my mother tell my aunt during one visit home. "I don't know what went wrong. She was so smart in school." The guilt of deceiving people who loved me was constant, but mission security protocols were absolute. Project Red Dawn represented humanity's greatest achievement, and protecting the mission was more important than personal relationships or family understanding. My grandfather Miguel had been my biggest supporter during childhood, encouraging my interest in astronomy even when he didn't understand it. As his health declined over the past year, I struggled with the desire to share my achievements with the man who had first pointed me toward the stars. "Mija, I worry about you," he told me during his final weeks. "You're so smart, but you seem lost. I hope you find your path before it's too late." His words broke my heart because I had found my path. I was literally preparing to walk on another planet, but I couldn't tell him without violating security protocols that protected not just my mission, but national security interests that affected millions of people. When grandfather passed away last Tuesday, I was in the middle of final mission simulations for Mars landing procedures. Getting emergency leave required coordination with mission control, security briefings, and approval from the highest levels of NASA administration. "Commander Vasquez, we understand this is a family emergency," my mission director explained. "Your cover story remains in effect during personal travel." Mission security protocols apply to all civilian interactions. The funeral was held at St. Joseph's Cathedral in El Paso, with a reception afterward at the community center, where our family had celebrated every major milestone for 3 generations. I arrived wearing a simple black dress and minimal jewelry, appropriate for mourning and consistent with my waitress cover identity that my family expected. My cousins arrived showcasing their professional achievements through expensive clothing, detailed discussions of career advancement, and subtle competitions about who had achieved the most impressive success since our last family gathering. Maria just got promoted to head of pediatric nursing, announced my Aunt Carmen during the reception. Carlos expanded his auto shop to 3 locations. Sophia was named Teacher of the Year. The conversation was inappropriate for a funeral, but it served a strategic purpose, establishing everyone's place in the family success hierarchy before discussing grandfather's estate and legacy. I participated quietly in family conversations, sharing memories of grandfather and offering condolences without discussing my own career situation. Elena's still figuring things out, my mother explained to relatives who asked about my life. She's working at a restaurant while exploring her options. As the reception continued, I could hear whispered conversations among cousins about my apparent failure to launch into successful adulthood. It's actually kind of sad, Maria whispered to Carlos near the food table. Elena was the smartest of all of us in school, but look where she ended up. Still waiting tables at 31, Carlos replied with a mixture of pity and superiority. Some people never learn to be practical about life. The comments revealed exactly how my family viewed my choices and future prospects, as evidence of wasted potential and poor decision-making rather than strategic career management. During grandfather's memorial service, family members shared stories about his influence on their lives and careers. When my turn came, I spoke about how his gift of a telescope had opened my eyes to possibilities beyond Earth's boundaries. Grandfather taught me to dream big, I said, even when those dreams seemed impossible to others. The speech was heartfelt and true, but my family interpreted it as confirmation that I was still chasing unrealistic fantasies instead of building practical careers like everyone else. After the formal service, conversation shifted toward practical matters related to grandfather's legacy and the family's future achievements. That's when Maria decided to make her assessment of my life situation a public statement. "We're all so proud of what we've accomplished in grandfather's memory," she announced to the gathered relatives. "He always wanted us to build successful careers and contribute to our community." The comment was clearly directed at me, and everyone understood the implication. "Some of us have become professionals who make our family proud," Maria continued, looking directly at me. "Others are still struggling to find their direction." The passive-aggressive attack was delivered with enough artificial concern to appear supportive, while actually highlighting what she perceived as my failure. "Elena's just a failed waitress," she said with exaggerated sympathy. "She's the disappointment of the family, but we love her anyway." The room fell silent as everyone processed Maria's public humiliation of me at our grandfather's funeral reception. I looked around at the faces of relatives who had known me since childhood, people who had watched me excel academically, pursue ambitious goals, and maintain mysterious privacy about my current work. The moment had arrived to reveal a truth that would change everything they thought they knew about my life and achievements. I reached into my jacket pocket and pulled out the leather credential holder that I carried everywhere, but had never shown to anyone outside NASA. Opening it slowly, I displayed my official NASA mission badge, Commander Dr. Elena Vasquez, Mars Mission Project Red Dawn, Classified Operations. The silence that followed was so complete I could hear the air conditioning system in the community center. "What is that?" my mother whispered. "My real job," I replied calmly. "I'm Mission Commander for NASA's first manned expedition to Mars. I've been training for 3 years to lead humanity's most important space exploration mission." Maria's face had gone completely pale as she stared at the NASA badge that contradicted everything she had just said about my supposed failure. "That's impossible," she stammered. "You work at a restaurant." "I work undercover at a NASA facility," I corrected. "My waitressing job is classified cover for astronaut training and mission preparation." The revelation was spreading through the reception as relatives processed information that contradicted years of assumptions about my career trajectory. "Elena's an astronaut," my young nephew asked with obvious excitement. "Not just an astronaut," I replied. I'm the mission commander selected to lead the first human expedition to Mars. The mission launches in 18 months. My mother was staring at me as if seeing a stranger. Elena, why didn't you tell us? Because it's classified, Mom. Project Red Dawn is a national security program. I couldn't discuss it with anyone outside NASA until mission parameters allowed limited disclosure to immediate family. The explanation helped everyone understand that my secrecy hadn't been about embarrassment or shame, but about protecting information that affected national interests and space exploration history. You're really going to Mars? My father asked with wonder and concern. Yes, Dad. I'm commanding a crew of 6 specialists on a 2-year mission to establish humanity's first permanent research station on another planet. The conversations that followed were emotional and complex as family members processed years of worry and disappointment being replaced by pride and amazement. Elena, we're so sorry, Maria said, tears streaming down her face. We had no idea. The things we said about you. You said what you believed based on the information you had, I replied diplomatically. I understand why you made those assumptions. But why waitressing as your cover story? Carlos asked. Because it explained irregular schedules, frequent travel, and inability to discuss work details while maintaining believability with people who knew my background. My Aunt Carmen was shaking her head in amazement. Elena, you're going to be in history books. You're going to Mars. The mission is still classified, I reminded everyone. You can know about my role, but you can't discuss it publicly until NASA makes official announcements. The reception continued with completely transformed dynamics as relatives adjusted to understanding that their failed waitress, cousin, was actually preparing for humanity's greatest adventure. Grandfather would be so proud, my mother said, hugging me tightly. He always knew you were destined for something extraordinary. He's the reason I became an astronaut, Mom. His telescope showed me the stars, and his encouragement taught me to pursue impossible dreams. The funeral reception became an impromptu celebration of achievement that honored both grandfather's memory and the realization that his granddaughter was about to make history. Over the following hours, I answered countless questions about astronaut training, Mars mission objectives, and the technical challenges of interplanetary travel. Conversations that were more engaging and meaningful than any family gathering we had ever experienced. Aunt Elena, will you bring me back something from Mars? My nephew asked seriously. If mission protocols allow, I'll bring back rock samples for the whole family, I promised. The day that had begun with mourning and family tension ended with pride, excitement, and a new understanding of what success could look like when someone pursued their authentic passions instead of conventional expectations. As I prepared to return to NASA for final mission preparations, my family's perception of my life had been completely transformed. Elena, we owe you apologies for not believing in your dreams, my father said. We were wrong to push you toward conventional careers when you were preparing for something unprecedented. Dad, you wanted me to be successful and secure. I achieved both, just not in ways that were visible until now. The drive back to Houston gave me time to reflect on the evening's revelations and their impact on both my family relationships and my preparation for the Mars mission. Maria called me the next morning with additional apologies and questions about my astronaut career. Elena, I feel terrible about what I said at the funeral. I had no idea about your achievements. Maria, you were trying to motivate me based on what you thought was best for my future. I appreciate that you cared enough to be concerned. Can you tell us more about the Mars mission? What will you actually do there? We're establishing humanity's first permanent research station on Mars. My crew will conduct geological surveys, atmospheric analysis, and life detection experiments that will determine humanity's potential for interplanetary colonization. The conversation helped Maria understand that my work represented not just personal achievement, but contributions to scientific knowledge that would benefit all humanity. Today, 6 months before the Mars mission launch, my family has become my biggest supporters and advocates for space exploration. My daughter is commanding the first human mission to Mars, my mother tells everyone proudly. She's going to make history. My nephew has decided he wants to become an astronaut, inspired by the realization that someone from our family could achieve something so extraordinary. If Aunt Elena can go to Mars, maybe I can go to Jupiter, he tells his friends with complete seriousness. The most important outcome of revealing my secret wasn't changed family dynamics or increased respect. It was eliminating the guilt and isolation that came from hiding my greatest achievements from people I loved. Tomorrow, I return to NASA for final mission preparations that will culminate in humanity's first steps on another planet. When I plant the American flag on Mars soil, I'll be thinking about my grandfather's telescope and his granddaughter who never stopped reaching for the stars. Sometimes the person your family thinks has achieved the least is actually preparing to achieve the most. Sometimes the failed waitress is secretly the mission commander. And sometimes the biggest dreamers are the ones who make dreams reality for everyone else. If this story resonates with you, please share it with anyone who's ever been underestimated while pursuing extraordinary goals. Have you ever had to hide your achievements for reasons others wouldn't understand? Share your experiences in the comments below. Remember, the stars are always there for those brave enough to reach for them.